Hi, this is Congressman John Garamendi with our weekly report. Actually, one of two weekly reports. This one is about the funding of the federal government. Here we are 6 months into the fiscal year for the United States government, and we finally were able to put together a compromise appropriation to fund all of government. Why did it take so long? Well, the Republicans refused to work with the Democrats. They thought they could do it all by themselves. They didn't need the Democrats, and so they wouldn't negotiate with us. Well, finally, they came to the conclusion they needed to negotiate, and we did. We put together what's a pretty good appropriation for the funding of government. Some significant increases. For example, we now are going to be able to fund Alzheimer's research at $1.8 billion. Just in the last 4 years that I've been working on that, we've increased that funding from about $500 million to now $1.8 billion. That's really important because this illness affects every family in America. We're also going to be able to deal with some special issues that exist not only in California but around the nation. Flood control systems need to be put in place. So there's extra money to build those flood control systems, and that's on top of the emergency appropriations for Houston, Puerto Rico, and other places that were affected by the hurricanes. Fire issues. We finally were able to set up a mechanism to fund fires without robbing fire prevention in our federal forests. So that's in place. It'll take a year or so before that goes into effect. But it's a very, very important for California because it gives us an opportunity to get ahead of the fires, to do the thinning of the forest, to put in the fire breaks and do the other things that are necessary. On the military side, well, I tell you, the military got a whopping sum of money. For my district, it's important because in the district we have Travis Air Force Base, which is the air mobility, the big C-5Bs and the C-17s and the aerial tankers that support the movement of men, women, and equipment, as well as refuel all of our airplanes when they're in the air. That's in good shape. Over in Beale Air Force Base, which is intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance, and even an upgrade so that we know what's going on in the world so that we can keep track of the trouble spots, whether they are in Niger or in Russia. So on the military side, it's pretty good. But there's one thing that really, really bothers me about the military budget, and that is the continued arms race on the nuclear weapons. The American military is spending $1.5 trillion over the next decade on nuclear weapons. Everything from a new bomber to new rockets to new cruise missiles, new submarines, and new warheads. All of that extraordinarily expensive, and they didn't even talk about all of that goes on in space. So you add all of those together, and it's extremely expensive, and in my view, extremely dangerous because this stuff is stealthy. Nobody knows where it is. Nobody knows when it's coming. And so the old rules of the Cold War simply aren't going to work. I'm going to continue working on all these issues. Call my office if there's any issue that you have for the local governments in California, for broadband, for funding the police and fire. Those are going to be in good shape, actually, with a little bit of increase.